Welcome to the CEO Story, brought to you by KC Chauhan, founder of Together CFO, where every week we're interviewing the top CEOs in various industries, sharing their journey and extracting the top things that made them successful. Hi guys, and welcome to the CEO podcast. We've got a belter for you today. We've got one of the coolest guys in all of California, David Meltzer, who is the co-founder Sports One Marketing. David, thank you so much for taking the time. How are you doing today?
I'm amazing and so grateful to be here and have a chance to share hopefully some nuggets and dummy tags.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, so looking over your profile and your background and history, it's been one hell of a roller coaster from very early success to then even more success in your 30s and then ups and downs, best-selling author, keynote speaker, we could just keep talking about all the accolades, but if you could kind of summarize it for us and then dig into some detail, that would be great.
Yeah, I think I'll go through that CV just through the lessons that I've learned, especially today when so many people are experiencing pain, right? Mental, spiritual, emotional, physical, and financial pain. And there was a shift in my life where I realized that I wasn't a victim because I grew up in a world of not enough. I had a single mom, 6 kids, 5 boys and a girl. She worked 2 jobs, packed my dinner in a paper bag, filled up turnstiles at the convenience stores with greeting cards, and I learned a great work ethic. And I also learned a couple things that, one, happiness was really important. I was blessed to be born with a DNA of happiness. I have a happiness gene, and that's one of the lessons that I learned through my journey is that some people, just like you only have so much potential to be a professional athlete, or a doctor, you have only so much potential and happiness. You're born with a certain quantum nature that you can strive or enjoy the consistent, persistent pursuit of that potential. So happiness was very important to me as a young boy because I was always happy. And the only time I wasn't was when I caught my mom in financial distress. As normal for poor kids, not enough food, or the car broke down, or how we were going to go to summer camp or graduate school or whatever it may be. A lot of pressure was put on financial needs. And so at 5 years old, when my dad left, I literally, and you see that sign behind me, I thought money does buy happiness. Money does buy love. And my whole journey was revolved around my relationship between happiness and money. And so my quest was to make a lot of money so that I could buy my mom.
So these were the beliefs that you had ingrained in your mind from a very young age. And that then propelled you into adult life thinking that way.
Yeah, exactly. And it really propelled me because I just wanted to buy my mom a house and a car because that was the only hole in my life. Everything else seemed to be purposeful and passionate. And I went through a variety of things from wanting to be a professional athlete. When that ended quickly, I had a scholarship to college and got ran over my first play. I realized lying on my back, I better listen to my mom. She had a lesson, doctor, lawyer, or failure. And so I think a lot of kids, though, are under pressure from their parents, to have that. And so I went and was going to be a doctor. Then my brother, who was a doctor, I went and visited him, gave me my second big lesson in my life because I told him I hated hospitals. He almost fell over. He goes, "You're pre-med. You're 18 years old. What are you talking about? You hate hospitals." I'm like, "I want to be a sports doctor." He goes, "David, you need to be more interested than interesting." And that lesson is so powerful on so many different levels because I ran the most notable sports agency in the world, Leigh Steinberg Sports Entertainment. They made the movie Jerry McGuire about my firm and Leigh. I can't tell you still today how many kids come up to me and go, I want to be just like you, Mr. Meltzer. I want to be Jerry McGuire. And I think to myself, you know as much about being a sports agent as I knew about being a doctor when I was 18. You got to be more interested than interesting. You got to find out the what, you got to find out the who, and then you got to practice, right? You got to practice figuring out your skills, your knowledge, and desire aligned with what it takes. So I instantly went from doctor to lawyer. Once again, a lot of pressure.
A big switch.
Yeah. Well, but here's another thing that's interesting. Maybe this resonates with a lot of people out there. My mom literally believed that the fetus wasn't fully developed till after graduate school. My mom, I joke around, but literally was a black belt in the martial arts. And she was a 3rd degree in the black belt martial art of guilt. And I see so many kids whose parents guilt them into entire lives. They've been guilted into a life they don't want. And I was guilted all the way through graduate school. Now, the one thing I did different than most kids about, and I know a lot of kids out there or adults are looking to go to graduate school, especially when we have compressed uncertainty and accelerated change in a bad economy. People use that time to, expand their knowledge. One thing I learned, I reverse engineered the graduate school I went to because I wanted to be rich. So I did research. I was more interested than interesting. I did research on what law school had the highest paying grad. I didn't care about the prestige. I wanted to know what job paid the most money and what school had that job. And so I went to Tulane University because oil and gas litigators made the most money out of law school, and they had the most kids hired for that profession. So it was very interesting as I look back as I'm older, how specific I was about being interested, not interesting, where, my siblings all went to Harvard and Penn and Columbia. None of them, right, were aligned with the objective. They just wanted the name to be able to say they went to these schools, but they really weren't aligned. My one brother went to pre-med, ended up being a rabbi, right, but he went to Harvard. So anyway, I graduated law school, 2 job offers, one to be an oil and gas litigator, 6-figure job, easily be able to buy my mom a house and a car. But the other was because I was focused on being rich, because money buys happiness, I got a sales offer, a sales job. It's $250,000 at Clan in 1992, selling legal research on the internet. Legal research on the internet. I asked my mom, what should I do? Without blinking, she's like, David, you need to be a real lawyer. This internet thing, it's a fad. It's never going to last. You're going to lose all your money. Don't do it. Lesson number 3. Just because somebody loves you doesn't mean they give you good advice. Don't vote for what other people want for you and then elect what they want from you in your life, not what you want. You're going to end up resenting them and being very unhappy. For the first time in my life, I voted for what I wanted. I took the sales job. I voted for what I wanted, which was to make a lot of money.
What made you do that, though? So at this point, you were pretty smart in terms of academically. You'd realized you wanted to switch, and then you'd achieved success in terms of having 2 6-figure offers straight out of college. And then it's like, so pretty much you've been guided, like you said, by the guilt of being successful so you could buy your mom a house. But at this point, I'm hearing, I'm going to make it either way, but now you turn in the mirror and you're looking at yourself and you're going to do what you want to do, which is different to along the way up until that point. What was the change?
I wanted to be rich. And so it was so important that I did the math. And I said to myself, I can make so much more money selling. I truly believed in the internet, right? I was voting for what I believed the internet was going to be a really big thing. I asked people, that were involved in the internet, professors that understood legal research. It seemed to me that the internet was made for research. Although Justice Scalia one time told me that the day that people would do legal research on a computer, not on books, would be the day that he would die. It happened well before he died, thank goodness. So anyway, I voted for the money. I also want to be a realist and tell kids and people out there, I always have mitigated risk, right? I always look at time and risk tolerance. So in my mind, I still took the bar, right? And in my mind, I said, if I'm not good at this, I can always go back and be a lawyer. But if I take the law job, I can't switch over and always go back and sell the internet, right? It's going to
covering your risk.
Yeah. And so it wasn't like I was all in and 100. But the one thing that I had to put up with that changed my life is I learned it's okay for people to laugh at me, make fun of me, scoff at me, attack me, because my family are hyper academics. They're not great athletes. So when I went to college to play football, because there wasn't many colleges that want me to play football, I took a lot of heat from my family. Then when I went out of law school and became a salesperson, not a lawyer, I took a lot of heat from my friends, and most of my friends from law school literally were laughing at me going, can you believe he turned down the oil and gas job? Oh my God, he's going to sell internet. Like, they were making fun of me. 2 years later, they were all begging me for jobs, by the way, because 9 months out of law school, I was a millionaire, bought my mom a house and a car. Once again, reaffirming money buys happiness. And that lesson continued from 1995 where we sold the company for $3.4 billion with the B, and then set my life in a new trajectory into the Silicon Valley, where I learned to raise money for charity and for corporations. When I was 30 years old, I was CEO of the world's first smartphone, all technology-based, no engineering background, all sales skills, all sales knowledge, and I leveraged that knowledge and skill into one of the highest executive paying jobs in America at 30 years old, multi-millionaire. I married the girl from my childhood who hated me. So every single thing in my life just reaffirmed that money buys happiness and money buys love.
One good key skill that I'm hearing a lot here is that you became very good at selling. Where did you develop that skill?
So I have a great quantum nature for happiness and selling. So my father, my grandfather, great salespeople. So I'm born just like a great athlete that has a lot of speed. I was just born a natural salesperson. But where I really got good was working for West Publishing. I became a student, a professional sales. I became more interested than interesting on all the nuances of selling. I created my own selling system. I went to all types of workshops and seminars and read everyone from Zig Ziglar to Mike Bosworth to Dennis Waitley. I became a student. And the word student is so important to me because what that means is I paid attention to and I gave intention to the coincidences that I wanted in my life. I believe that luck is a coincidence and coincidence is a mathematical occurrence created by attention plus intention. And that's what I did with my sales skills. And I utilized them with the backdrop in a variety of different industries, including when I ran the most notable sports agency, got into media, marketing my own brand. To me, it's all sales skills and knowledge with a backdrop that varies determinative upon the synergistic or supplementary opportunities that exist as the time keeps going on and on as I keep getting older and older.
Fantastic. That's really good to know because, the people listening, they'll be like, okay, David, straight out of college, you had these two baller offers. You couldn't really fail at either one of them. But that's just the base. You then took that to a whole other level. Like you said, you had great success in such a short space of time. What allowed you to accelerate so quickly and then continue on?
Great question. So for me, it's a variable that I teach to everyone called segmentation. I looked mathematically at how people are productive. And so what I looked at is the average person in my company had 8 hours of productivity a day at best, right? The really good ones could stay focused for an entire day of work. And I decided I wasn't going to look at life as work anymore. I was going to look at activity I got paid for and activity I didn't get paid for. And I was going to learn to love, to find the light, the love, and the lessons, the lens of gratitude that I would use in activity I got paid for. Because my belief, and it's been reaffirmed throughout my career, is that no matter what you do, and I've held some of the greatest positions in the world and worked with celebrities, athletes, and entertainers where people dream of having your job, it still sucks. Right? Part of it still sucks. And the people that are successful learn to find the light, the love, and the lessons in the part that sucks, and they learn to love the whole thing. And then people are like, oh, you're so lucky you love what you do. No. I learn to love all of what I do. Everybody has activity they get paid for, and nobody loves 100% of what they get paid for. So I started looking at the math, and I said, you know what? I have a must be what I can be attitude. I have a try me, not a why me attitude. I'm going to be focused for 16 hours a day, not 8 hours. Just on pure math, I'm going to outproduce people 2-1. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to practice like nobody else and create efficiencies. I called it the 4-minute rule. I know in football, there's the 2-minute rule. I created the 4-minute rule, which said any place that I could save 4 minutes, it was 24 hours of productivity a year if I could save it every day. So I would look for things like, can I brush my teeth and comb my hair and, floss my teeth and Listerine 4 minutes faster every day? Because that's something I do every day. Could I put my keys in my wallet and my phone in the same place every single day? Because I read that people waste 80 hours a year looking for things. Most commonly their keys, their wallet, and their phones. I did all the little things to make me twice as efficient. So my 16 hours a day became 32 hours a day. Then
stacking efficiency on top of efficiency here.
Yeah, and then what I found by practicing it was I became more statistically successful. So most people could get, 4 sales out of 10. I could get 8 sales out of 10, right? So now my 32 hours of productivity became 64 hours of productivity. And then because I didn't believe in work, I believe in activity I get paid for and activity I didn't get paid for. I believe in 2 minutes a day is worth 2 hours on a Saturday. I believe that if you take vacation every day, you won't have to take a month off and get exhausted, that you'll be rejuvenated every day. I believe in being a student of sleep. All these different things equated to 7 days at 64 hours of productivity. So when I made over $1 million in 9 months, and they gave me all these awards, one of the awards, by the way, a sales lesson for people out there, one of the awards you're going to get if you blow a comp plan out is they're going to give you a smaller territory and raise your number, by the way. I didn't think that was a great award.
Well, testing you in a new battleground, right?
Yeah. But think about it. They were giving me all these awards and telling me what a great person and salesperson I was from blowing out my comp plan. But in the back of my mind, I was saying, I didn't blow out your comp plan. I just worked 10 years of productivity in 9 months. I actually was far below comp plan. I had to learn. And so that strategy of efficiency, effectiveness, and statistical success has been carried with me for years and years and years. And the second part of segmentation that we were talking about, most people today, including older people, we blame it all on the millennials, Gen Z, Gen Y. No. The baby boomers are infected by instant gratification, right? Because our memories are poor. We can go through a bank and a drive-through. We can do so much more, and we're so used to it that most people end up, because of instant gratification, they end up quitting when they're 25% of the way there. 99% of the people quit when they're 25% of the way there now because of instant gratification, because they have lost the segmentation aspect of how long it takes to be an overnight success. And so our senses can't pick up how much we're growing and accelerating, the way we see things, hear things, smell things, taste things, touch things. Our memories are poor, so we can't remember how much we did yesterday. If you have kids out there, by the way, it's a perfect idea of segmentation. You never see how much your kids are growing until 3 weeks go by and you got to buy them a new pair of shoes, and you're like, wait a second, you could have grown that. Right? That's what happens with people when they figure out what they want. 99% quit at 25%. In half as much time, they get to 50%, the 1%, and 99% of those people. Why? Because they start voting for what everybody else wants. The people laughing at them, scoffing at them, making fun of them. And so the saddest thing that I see is the 1% of the 1% that make it to 100% of the way of what they want, like buying their mama a house and a car, or getting the job of their dreams, or graduate. It's only because they understand segmentation. They must be what they can be. And they don't rely on their senses or their memory. They rely on enjoying the consistent everyday, persistent without quit, pursuit of their own potential.
So it's determination and focus every step of the way.
You nailed it.
Fantastic. So let's fast forward a little bit. So you had some fantastic success at a very early age. You then sold up, went over to try your hat at something new in Silicon Valley, absolutely crushed it there. So how did the skills of learning sales in particular, and then by this point, high executive sales, dealing with multi-million-dollar contracts, how did that then equate to technology and Silicon Valley, which is a completely different world?
Yeah, it was so funny because I learned the business of technology, right? And so where I learned was, how do I quantify the reasons this will work, the impact it will have, and the capabilities of the technology, so I could get to this logical business case of, can you see any reason you won't want to move forward? And I wasn't afraid of adding zeros. So it went from hundreds of thousands to millions to tens of millions to hundreds of millions. And I just kept expanding my confidence level of what I was selling by sticking to just straight value. I had these 5 steps of: 1, I needed to be credible; 2, I needed emotional attachment, right? And that was kind of the salesy side of knowing that people buy on emotion for logical reasons, but you still need the logical reasons, which weren't features and benefits. Features and benefits were supporting characters in my system. What truly is the heart of the system was math. How could I quantify the reasons you'd want to do this, regardless of what the backdrop was? Technology, sports, legal research, it didn't matter. Whatever it was, can I quantify the reasons you should do it, quantify the impact it would have, knowing and aligning with your values and being synergistic and supplementary to your values, and then finally aligning those quantifiable capabilities to create a profit. And what is the certainty of profitability? That works in every single industry, which led me from legal industry into technology industry, from internet to wireless to handhelds, right? I was the CEO of the first smartphone in the world, a Windows CE device, to the biggest and most notable sports agency in the world, to starting my own media and sponsorship company, and then building my own brand at 50. At 50, building my own brand on Instagram and LinkedIn and Twitter, and having my own TV shows, my own podcasts, my own movies, all of these different things that are exponentially growing in the same way. They all stem from those 5 things of credibility, emotional attachment, quantifying reasons, impacts, and capability. For me, that's the basis of sales.
It really is. And, a lot of what I'm hearing is psychology mixed with NLP. And a lot of these things that have kind of come along the way and had more recent kind of success, it seems that you were doing all these things naturally all those years ago.
I'm blessed. I become a student of my quantum nature. So I look at things and segregate them into 3 things. What do I consciously do every day? The 10,000 new data inputs that I have, meaning what I think and say and do. And then subconsciously, what do I believe, which are 40,000 of the same thoughts? How are the neural pathways formed, which communicate with my DNA? And I have an epigenetic layer of that DNA that activates and deactivates my personality traits, characteristics, obsessions, and addictions that create a frequency. So I actually, as you talk and intertwine that, I start with the law of Goya, which is, I'm like a little mule, man. I'm a ferocious Buddha. Get off your ass. Law of Goya. I will outwork you, no problem. I will out-activity you, no problem. All the way through the quantum being that I am, to create the law of attraction that says, here's my strong signal, the spectrum of my signal, and the clarity of my message to attract what I want. And I have faith not only in the activity of the pragmatic world, but I have faith in the ethereal NLP, the psychological and spiritual world, that I will attract and make room for what I want.
It's a great mixture of a lot of high-level things, but with a foundation of discipline and focus and efficiency is what I'm hearing.
And hard work, right? And smart work and long work.
Definitely. So it wasn't all fun along the way. There was some pretty great ups that we've just talked about, but then there was a big down. So can we start talking about a little bit of that and how that shaped you, your mentality, what was going on, how the world that was going so well and perfect up here ended up turning so quickly?
Yeah, so I went from living in the world of not enough, where I was a victim, to now a world of just enough, right? I was buying tons of things I didn't need to impress people I didn't like. And I was having imposter syndrome. I was very unhappy. I was utilizing, recreationally, drugs and alcohol, surrounding myself with the wrong people and the wrong ideas. There's 3 things that happen that teach that lesson behind me, that money doesn't buy happiness. Number 1, at 30 years old, I got a birthday present from my father. It was the first birthday present I got in 20 years. He had forgotten my birthday at 10, which is when he went from hero to zero in my life, because he lied to me. He told me he didn't forget my birthday. He didn't believe in birthdays. Even though he's celebrating his own birthday and my sibling's birthday, I then knew at 10 years old, my dad was a liar, a cheater, a manipulator, a back-end seller, and an overseller. At 10 years old, I even hated my father. So 20 years later, at 30, I have everything, living in the world of just enough. I married my dream girl, houses, Ferraris, Porsches, motorhomes, boats, anything I wanted to buy, I could buy. And my dad gives me a jacket, and I put it on, and I look inside, and he had torn out all the pockets. Lesson number 1 came that day, because he told me, I called him crying, saying, I hate you. I can't believe you're punishing me. It's been 20 years. He said, what are you talking about? He goes, this is the best gift I've ever given you. I said, what are you talking about? He said, you need to learn money doesn't buy happiness. I don't want you to be just like me. I told him, I'm nothing like you. You're a liar, cheater, manipulator, overseller, back-end seller. I hate you. He said, David, hang the closet in the closet. Hang that jacket in the closet. Remind yourself every day, money doesn't buy happiness. You're not going to be the richest man in the cemetery. Be buried in that jacket. Learn to live life through you, not for you. I hate you. And I hung up on him. In 2006, second warning, I was running Leigh Steinberg Sports Entertainment, most notable sports agency. I had surrounded myself with celebrities, athletes, entertainers, going to the greatest events from Super Bowl, Pro Bowl, Masters, Kentucky Derby, all of them. So I take my best friend from the fourth grade golfing, and I ask him, hey, you want to go to the Masters with me? We can go with all these famous people, do all these exciting things. And he said, no. I said, what do you mean no? You never hang out with me. He goes, yeah, because I don't like who you hang out with, and I don't like what you're doing. There's a book that just came out by Stephen Hers that says, don't take yes for an answer. Well, I've been taking yes for an answer for 20 years. And it was the first time, my father was the first time that gave me a no for an answer in a birthday present. This was the second time I took no for an answer. And he said, I said to him, hey man, I'm not doing what those guys are doing. He said, David, you can lie to me, but don't lie to yourself. I went home crying again. 2 weeks later, my life changed. 2 weeks later, in 2006, I came home intoxicated from partying all night with Little John the Rapper at the Grammy Awards. My wife was waiting for me at 5:30 in the morning because I lied to her. I told her I was going to a business meeting. I changed clothes in the car. And she wanted me to stay home with my 3 daughters. I refused to do so. So when I walked in, my wife told me something I'll never forget. She told me she was unhappy. Now, I was so ego-based that not only could I understand how dare she be unhappy, but I was so mad at her and offended and resentful. I was like, we have a nanny. We have everything you ever dreamed of. You don't work. What are you talking about? And I went to bed furious and woke up even madder, and then thought to myself, I'm going to take her happiness. I'm going to take everything away from her. And as I was thinking about what lawyer to call, what friend from law school, who could help me, attack her, I looked over in the closet and my life changed. I looked over in the closet, and the first time in years, I saw that jacket. It still haunts me, that jacket. I still see it. It's in my closet because I realized at that time, every single thing I hated about my father, I hated about myself. That I was a liar, a cheater, a manipulator, a back-end seller, and an overseller. And that I better take stock in who I was and what I wanted to become, as my wife suggested, or I was going to be dead. And so that's when I shifted my life to live with gratitude, forgiveness, accountability, and inspiration. 2 years later, I lost everything, over $100 million. And I always joke around, I'm one of the few people that bottomed out 2 years before they lost everything. And I was well prepared for it. And I'm even more prepared today because I am more economically prepared to be resilient and take advantage of the fact that I am now living in the margins of miracles. I've learned to smile through struggle. And that in 2008, although I lost everything, I was happy because I learned that money doesn't buy happiness. It just allows you to shop. And if you shop for things you don't need, to impress people you don't like, you're not going to be happy. But if you shop for the right things, to help people, to allow things to come through you for others, you'll be extremely happy. And that's how I've been living the last 14 years. That's the greatest lesson that I've learned. That's the lesson that has inspired me to live my life with one mission: to empower 1,000 people like you, Casey, to empower 1,000 people, to empower 1,000 people to be happy. 1,000 times 1,000's a million times 1,000's a billion. And I have been doing trainings for those 14 years for free to help people every Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. And I appreciate you so much for allowing me and to be one of my 1,000 empowerment people.
Fantastic. Now, I look forward to tuning in on the Fridays and obviously listening to the podcast. You've got a best-selling book. You're a board member on, I can't even count how many charities right now. And the work that you're doing is truly fantastic. So, David, thank you so much for being a guest. I like to end with one last question, and it is, if you had to split your energy between, or your thoughts on luck, skill, and drive, what do you think has made you more successful out of those three? How would you categorize them?
Uncategorically, literally every interview that I've done of other people, business, and I've surrounded myself with the greatest thought leaders, executives, celebrities, athletes, and entertainers. There's one common denominator, and that's I have a desire to must be what I can be, to pursue my potential. So drive, because drive will facilitate gaining the skills and gaining the knowledge. But without drive, you're not going to expand, accelerate, and grow. Drive, drive, drive. You must be what you can be. Consistently, persistently enjoy the pursuit of your own potential. Vote for what you want. Elect for what you want in your life, and you will be happy. Allow it to come through you for others.
Fantastic, David. Thank you so much for taking the time. I'm constantly inspired every time I hear you, so I really appreciate it.
Oh, I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you so much. Please join me every Friday, everyone. It's free.
And we'll put the link down below here so you can register with David's weekly meeting.
Training.